We begin with Santorum's Southern sweep. Won both of those last night. Republican strategist Steve Schmidt ran the McCain-Palin campaign in 2008. Eugene Robinson is Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the Washington Post. Mr. Schmidt, by the way, they're both MSNBC political analysts. Steve, we got to start with you, the inside man. What is your feeling about this race?
Well, I think it's become a two-person race, Chris. For Newt Gingrich, he said that he was relevant in this race, that he had a Southern strategy. You have to win states like Mississippi and Alabama if you're going to put together a Southern strategy. So I think that he's effectively finished as a candidate. And now Mitt Romney has completely lost the inevitability argument. So now he's in a message campaign that's an ideological contest with a conservative running to his right. And it's going to be a process that continues to go forward because Santorum's argument that neither one of us may get enough delegates to win to lock this up, and it should get settled at the convention if that's the case. That got a lot of wind behind it last night, I think.
So you think people would like to have this thing go on a bit, even beyond the primaries and caucuses, to a real Donnybrook down there in Tampa?
Well, I think there's a real question about whether either one of them can accumulate the necessary delegates to be nominated. It's a real open question. So I think that barring the ability to be nominated with the requisite number of delegates through the voting process, it does go to the convention. And so Rick Santorum has said he's not getting out of the race, and I think he's got a clear rationale to keep going in this race, and he'll have one so long as he keeps winning. This has now become a math contest, but the momentum side of this is on Rick Santorum's side, despite Romney's math advantage.
Well said. Listen to what Rick Santorum said earlier today about his chance of defeating Mitt Romney. Let's watch.
We think we're going to take our results from last night. If we keep winning races, eventually people are going to figure out that Governor Romney isn't going to be the nominee. And you can, when you keep getting outspent 7, 8, 9, 10 to 1, and you win races, it has to tell you there's something fundamentally right with what we're doing and the message we're delivering, and there's something fundamentally flawed about the candidate that we're running against. You can't look at someone who has that huge money advantage, all the establishment behind him, all the media singing the song that he is the inevitable candidate, and all we're doing is slowing this process down, and we're hurting our chances in the fall, none of which is true, but all of which is being out there told to the Republican voter, and yet Republican voters are overwhelmingly saying no.
So he's the agent of tissue rejection. He's basically saying, I'm in here to do what the body politic of the Republican Party once done. Somebody's got to do it. Chase this guy out. Push him out.
That's what he's saying. You know, he talked about what was flawed in Mitt Romney. I'm not sure whether it's what's flawed in Mitt Romney that's his problem or what's missing. What's flawed is his record. Most conservatives, or many conservatives, believe on abortion, on health care. He's apostate. They think he's wrong. He was wrong. And they're not convinced that he now is on the right side of those issues. What's missing is the vision thing. What does he want to do with the country? What is he really about? What's at the core of Mitt Romney? And I think people haven't yet gotten that. They haven't figured that out. He doesn't communicate it very well.
So there you have it, Stephen. You're the inside man. Again, I rely on your knowledge, having ran the campaign for John McCain last time so well, I think, given the odds against you. And here you have a guy that doesn't seem like he belongs. He has problems. As Gene said, well, it isn't just a set of flaws he has. It's his essence. And it's his failure to offer up some reason why a smart business type can offer deliverance to the Republican Party in their souls. Can he be a soulful Republican to the people who really want a soulful deliverance to get out of this? They don't feel happy. Republicans are not happy in this country right now. There's something wrong with the way the country's going. What can he offer to solve that problem? Mitt Romney.
Look, I think at the end of the day, Chris, in this process, you are revealed to be who you are. And he's not a backslapping urban politician, who can go down there and pull off the yalls and the cheese grits and all of that stuff. He's a serious man with a record of accomplishment. And he particularly has a record of accomplishment in making broken things work right. And I think being able to communicate that through the prism of this is how it benefits you, the voter, in a primary context, and then ultimately in a general election context, convincing people that he has the core competence to restore prosperity to the country, for instance, I think that he'd be on much firmer ground than being in a fight with Rick Santorum about who's an authentic conservative on the basis of who has what level of support for Planned Parenthood. I think that's a very tough issue for him, and I think it drives attention to this inauthenticity argument.
But, Steve, it sounds colonial, like I'm not one of you people, but I can come in and I can run your country better than you can. I know I'm not one of you, but I'm really good at this business sense. You know, that was the colonial argument, by the way, in Africa. We're going to come in, we may not belong here. We don't belong here. We're not one of you, but we got this economic sense. We know how to run businesses better. I'm sorry. Well, these metaphors never work.
I think Romney does belong to a wing of the Republican Party that is out of fashion, and a lot of them out of the Republican Party now. But I think the point.
Oh, you think he's an old Republican liberal?
Well, in some ways, yeah. But I think the point Steve made is right. Is absolutely right. If that's what he is, he should be that. He should be what he is, and not try.
Okay, you're laughing, but you're laughing. Would that sell?
Well, I think it would sell better than cheesy grits.
Okay, would the real Mitt Romney sell
than what he's
Steve? Would the real Mitt Romney, because you had a candidate like John McCain, who's not even as real in that direction. He would never. I mean, McCain's probably a hybrid somewhere between the old East Coast moderate Republican and the right wing crazy Tea Partier. But Mitt Romney is well beyond the Tea Party stage, well distant from it.
Yeah, look, I think that the party has changed a great deal over the last 4 years. And I think that there's a real argument to be made that, Mitt Romney may be the last person, who's got a fairly moderate record on a number of issues from a state like Massachusetts, could compete as well as he's competed in the Republican primary if the party continues to evolve at the rate it's changed over the last 4 years. Yeah. But nevertheless, Chris, he does have a substantial lead in the math. The inevitability argument is out the window. They didn't want the math argument, but now that they're in it, they're winning that math argument. And so he does have advantages going forward in this contest, but there's no doubt he's going to have to fix some elements of his messaging.
I just imagine that convention. You may not like me, but look at these numbers. I got numbers to prove you got to take me. That's going to be awful. Anyway, today on Fox News, Mitt Romney was asked in person at live television whether his losses in Alabama and Mississippi underscored the fact that the conservatives in the party do not want him to be their nominee. Here's how he answered. Let's watch.
Well, I'm sorry. They have to go back and look at some other states that actually are kind of important. Let's say Florida, for instance, where I won, and Michigan, and Ohio, and Nevada, and New Hampshire. The list goes on. Last night, by the way, they're forgetting there were a couple of other contests, including Hawaii, where I won. Oh, and by the way, last night I got more delegates than anybody else. Some who are very conservative may not be yet in my camp, but they will be when I become the nominee, when I face Barack Obama.
I don't get it, Gene. He doesn't seem like a guy who's got the people's choice going for him.
That clip reminds me of that great aria from Dreamgirls, you're going to love me. He's telling Republicans, I'm staying, and you're going to love me.
Is that Hudson singing there?
Exactly.
Okay, let me go back to this question. Let's look at this more. Here is, let's take a look at some more of the things that have been going on here. Here's Richard Beeson from the Team Romney on the mathematical realities, because this is what it's come down to, the argument that have got the numbers. Here it is, according to Politico. While Rick Santorum is taking a victory lap after Alabama and Mississippi, the fact remains that nothing has changed or advanced his chance of getting the Republican nomination. Tuesday's results actually increased Governor Romney's delegate lead, while his opponents only moved closer to their date of mathematical elimination. How does this sound in the hustings, Steve, to hear if you're a voter in Illinois this Tuesday? Well, you don't really matter because the numbers here say you're finished if you want to vote for Santorum.
Well, that's not an argument that is penetrating to voters in states like Illinois. That's an argument for the inside Washington and the donor community that's funding the campaigns. And one of the interesting things, Chris, on the Republican side, you have Rich Beeson for Romney, and then you have John Yob for Santorum, and they're both hugely respected inside the Republican Party, and they're both making arguments that people find confusing. They don't know which side to believe and who is exactly where, because we're in uncharted territory with the proportional allocation of the delegates. This is a rule change for the Republicans. So we're in a new space with this. So, the one thing that's clear is that the Santorum argument that I'm not getting out of the race no matter where the math is on this right now, that if I keep winning, I have as good a shot to get this nomination as Romney does, even if it's decided at the convention. His argument was strengthened last night Romney's argument was weakened last night.
Okay, thank you very much, Gene. Last word. It looks to me like it's a two-man race right now. It looks to me like we're not going to be talking much about Newt anymore, nor should we, because the voters now have a real clear-cut mano-a-mano here.
Yeah, I think Newt Gingrich's performance goes way down in primaries, even if he stays in the race. And
he's Buddy Roemer now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's Buddy Roemer. Anyway, thank you, Steve Schmidt. Remember Buddy Roemer? He's also in the race, and he doesn't matter either. Anyway, Steve, it's great to have you on as always. By the way, I'm more impressed with you every time I watch that movie. I've seen it 3 times now. Game change. I'm going for the record.